Yeah, so I have a programming background. I did that right out of college. I actually still do consulting right now, a few days a week. And then I first started getting into niche sites specifically about 5 years ago, looking for ways to make money online. And then I came across a post on Reddit about someone with a crappy looking vacuum cleaner website making $500 a month. And this website looked really simple, and it didn't look very good. So I thought, this website sucks. I can do better. Ignorance is bliss, I guess, because I didn't know anything about online marketing. I just knew I could make a website like that.
Yeah.
So I tried a couple websites. I didn't really work out. I had this product in the back of my head. It was like a tool for crafts. So I did some research. There wasn't a lot of competition at the time. So I thought, hey, why not make a website? And then every day I would come home from work. I work on my website till I went to bed. And I did that. I didn't make any money for like 6 months doing that. And I learned about SEO from like Neil Patel and the other popular SEOs out there. I wasn't really involved in Facebook groups at the time. And I think that's a great resource now for people to get started, is going on Facebook. But I started that at the beginning of the year. And then, not this year, but 5 years ago.
Sure.
And at the end of the 12 months, I had almost a $6,000 month around Christmas season. So that was a review site, strictly a review site at the time. Finding a good niche and putting in a lot of work made it successful.
Okay, cool. And just to make sure I follow the timeline, so it was like 2015, like
Yeah,
5 years ago, and then
yeah.
you launched a site, and roughly within a year, you had a $6,000 per month website.
That was my highest. Yeah,
Cool. All
yeah.
right. And then is it still around and active these days?
Yeah, still around. It's held up surprisingly well based on how much I've recently neglected it. Considering I did very little link building. I did a little bit in the beginning with like the broken link builder tactic and a few outreach. I think
Mhm.
that helped. Last year or about a year ago, I put ads on it, which helps. But there's a lot of changes that happened. Amazon changed their commission structure, which a lot of affiliates who are using Amazon took a big hit. Luckily, I'm in a good category of the home goods, which is 8%,
Mhm.
which is kind of what I was getting before on their older structure. But it's not on everything you buy now. It's just on those categories.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm in the process of selling that site now, just because it's taken a bit of a traffic hit, and if I'm neglecting it, I just might as well get rid of it
Sure.
if I don't want to work on it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, over the years you learned a lot, you spent a lot of time on it, and it's not very exciting for you anymore, I imagine, like that particular site. So I
Yeah,
could imagine like getting rid of it and then moving on to something that you're interested in right now is probably really important. So
yeah,
cool. And there's a lot of stuff that you mentioned that I want to dig into, but at the very beginning you said you found some a Reddit thread. And you were like, hey, I could do that. And I remember when I first started listening to Smart Passive Income, first I thought it was a total scam. But then once I moved past that, I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I was naive enough to not realize that there's a lot of mistakes and
yeah,
complicated things that you can do, and just actually a lot of mistakes that you can make. Now that I'm thinking about it, I made a lot of mistakes. So I wasn't actively looking for any kind of online business stuff. Like, what were you looking for? Why were you trolling over there on Reddit and checking things out? And I guess it was like the entrepreneurship subreddit or something.
yeah. It must have been that one. I wish I could find the thread again because I'm curious what the website looks like now that I found 5 years ago, but I
Yeah,
haven't been able to find it since. Yeah, I've always been interested in business since I was a kid, mainly because maybe my dad has his own business, but I just like the idea of creating something else that makes money for you. I I think that's a really cool concept instead of having to work at a regular job.
yep,
And I'm interested in tech, so it just makes sense that I'd be looking for a ways to make money online. I think affiliate building niche sites, I think it's a really good model for me. I'm a good writer and researcher, and unlike e-commerce, you don't have to deal with customers or inventory, or I just think it's a really good business model for um, myself.
yep.
Uh, it's not for everyone. A lot of people don't have like the grit for it. I think it takes a lot of grit. I think getting a site started, but it works for me. So I'm happy I found this way of making money online.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, well, one thing people get hung up on, and I see this email all the time. You probably get this question too, Ben, where someone's like, well, Amazon only pays a small commission rate. I'm going to, develop my own product. I'm going to do drop shipping. I'm going to do some other thing so I can make more, which usually, right, if you get paid more, that means there's more complexity, there's more risk involved. So it's even worse. You have to have even more grit because you have to deal with customers, for example. And
Yeah.
what happens if your supplier for your physical product has a manufacturing hiccup or some, interruption in the supply chain. So yeah, I think affiliate marketing is a very good model for beginners, like when we started. And then
Yeah.
once you progress, it's like you and I could have branched off and done some other things. You did. And then I'm just happy not having to deal with the customers directly overall. So very cool. So on the first couple sites that you made, it sounded like you got started pretty quick and hit some success quickly. Did you have any other sites where you started them kind of a false start and then you realized that you did everything kind of wrong at the beginning? Any of
Yeah, I
those?
made a couple sites. My very first website I made I was into going barefoot at the time, the whole barefoot craze that happened a few years ago. So I thought, oh, why not make a website about like the barefoot lifestyle? The website got a little bit of traffic, except the main problem was there weren't many products in the niche to promote.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I was really passionate about it and wrote really good articles, but the monetization just wasn't there. That was my first mistake, is picking a niche that had no money in it.
Yeah. It's like the lack of shoes. There's not a lot of products to sell with that. So, and were you like a runner and that sort of thing? Or you were just like, hey, I'm going to go barefoot. Would you like go to stores and stuff barefoot? Like, were you that crazy?
Admittedly, I have a few times, but I'm a lot more tame now.
Yeah, I remember because I used to run a lot more than I do now, and yeah, I remember like the barefoot running. I had like the Five Fingers and a couple other like sort of minimal type shoes, but yeah, I never like walked around in them. Or I mean, occasionally, especially if you're like in a hippie kind of place like Boulder, you do run across hippie type folks that are walking around barefoot for real, which is fine. It doesn't bother me, but it just seems, I don't know, it's a little weird now, right?
Unconventional for sure.
Yeah.